This video might be controversial. We're going to have some controversy itself in it too, but I haven't really ranted about much. I get a little tired of emphasis on vinyl quality and pressings over like what's actually on the record, what made you a fan in the first place. But one thing that I haven't really talked about is pricing. And I can understand, hey, you know, record stores need to make a living. We don't want the record stores to go away. It would really suck if there were no more record stores. And that's not really what I'm talking about, especially with new records. I expect if I'm going to go to a record store, I'm going to pay a couple dollars more, 3 to 4, maybe $5 more than what I would see on Amazon. And I'll pay it because it's supporting a small business usually, and I want them to be around. And usually, when I'm in a record store, I have a unique experience, which is part of the reason why I go. I don't have that experience when I'm shopping online or at Discogs. So I enjoy record stores, I always have. And when I was a kid, it was one of my favorite things to do, if not my favorite thing to do, besides maybe seeing a concert and listening to the record itself, was going to a record store and flipping through those bins and learning about music and checking out covers, probably including this one, which I think kind of freaked me out at the time. So recently, I had an experience where I went to two different record stores, and I was just it was just so devoid of fun. There was no discovery. One of them was much bigger than the other one, and it was fun to browse through the new rather and see, oh, wow, they've got a lot of titles. So if I'm looking for something in particular, this is a good place to go. Now you're going to pay, more like the $5 on top of anything that's on Amazon, but there were some that didn't seem like they were horribly priced, and they had a great selection of new. They also had a huge selection of used. And the used is where I had a real issue with it right away. I didn't think I was looking at used because I was like, why are these used records so expensive? I'm not talking like $15. I'm talking $22, $29. The majority of the records I was searching through or flipping through were $29. And these were just standard records. These were not records that they weren't labeled like first pressing. They weren't, none of that stuff. It was just like your standard run-of-the-mill catalog record by Phil and the artist, right? It wasn't. These are not anything special records. Everything was priced that. Your average Supertramp record, was priced that way. Everything was priced that way, and it just took the enjoyment right out of it. I was like, well, I'm not going to take chances on these records. I'm not going to pay $29 for a used record unless I'm really going to get out the Discogs and research it and hold it up to the light and read all the numbers off of it and all that. I'm not going to do that in a record store. I mean, I try to keep that to a minimum. I think it's kind of rude, but at the same time, if you're pricing stuff like that, you deserve that. But I just kind of gave up on it once I realized it was going to be that way. They also had records that were really high priced, like stuff that was more like first pressings and higher value, thrown right in there. So you'd be like $22, $29, $29, $29, $75, $29, $29, $89, which I think you should just, in my opinion, put those somewhere else. Put those somewhere where people are looking for that kind of stuff and expecting to pay that will find them. Just really off-putting. And it had a huge selection, but I'm just like, who's buying this stuff? Who's paying $29 for an average used record? Not me. I'm not going to do it. We live in a world where you can access anything music-wise, anywhere, anytime, just about anything. I mean, with YouTube, if you include that along with the streaming services, make record buying fun. Make it a fun experience. Let's make sure we have the art of discovery in there. When you're just like, I'm not going to take a chance on any of these because they're all just priced obscenely. Like, I'm not going to dig through them. There's no point. And I did buy something there, though, which is the album that's right behind me. This record, I was a little confused by it because it looked brand new. I think it was still in the shrink wrap, but it was like opened. And I've been wanting Controversy because I need to finish my Prince collection, at least before the Cape Crusader came along and kind of roughed him up a little bit. I love those early Prince albums, pre-Batman, all of them. And I've had all of them on various mediums before, cassette, some CD. I have all of them now on vinyl, and this was one of the last ones to get. I got 1999 recently. I can't believe I didn't have that on vinyl, but I picked that up. But Controversy, I did not have, and so I was intrigued, and I picked it up, and it was $22. And I was like, okay, well, can I buy this new for about the same? So I went over to the section, R&B section it was in, and they didn't have it. So then I tried to pull up, Discogs, and I pulled up Amazon, and it seemed like it was getting kind of hard to find, and that you would pay more like $30 for a copy. So I was like, okay, $22, and I inspected it again. It looked super clean. I was like, all right, I'll take a chance on this. So I did buy that record, and we'll talk about that in a minute here. But the other record store that I went to was very close by, and same kind of thing. I walked in right away. The guy's like, "Can I help you with something?" Like, you know, there's he expected, like, you're looking for something in particular, or you wouldn't be there. And that's exactly what my experience when I walked through there, because everything was like that. $29. I don't know what the thing is with $29 other than it feels cheaper than 30, but it's an outrageous price to have as your standard for used records. I did a loop around the stuff, and I walked right out. I'm not paying that for a used record again, unless it's something I'm really seeking out. But it takes out the art of discovery, the fun part of flipping through bins and being like, oh my god, this is great, or wow, this is only $10. I'll take a chance on this. Or you walk away and you feel like you got something. You're validated by making the drive and going to these businesses and supporting them. But boy, I don't. It just that was a real experience. Okay, contrast that with what I went to yesterday, which was a record convention type thing. We rent out a space, and there's a bunch of vendors in there, and they're selling their records. Now I know this is more for collectors or people that are kind of aware of these things and aren't just your average public going to a record store, but it was the act of just the art of discovery was there. Oh, I loved it. Flipping through bins, finding good things, found things I wouldn't normally pick up, but they were priced decently enough where I'm like, of course, this fills in the gaps in my collection, and I'm sure these records, they're worth that price just to hear them on vinyl and have that experience again, and really a dedicated listen. And one of those was Aerosmith, Draw the Line. I got for $5. It's VG++. It looks immaculate, like it's never been played. You could almost say it's near mint. Same thing with New Sensations by Lou Reed. I got it for $10. I listened to New Sensations when I was probably 18, 19 years old, when I was first getting into Lou Reed. I don't know if I've listened to it that much since, but I'm curious about diving deeper into Lou Reed's catalog again, and New Sensations for $10. Hell yeah. I put it on, and we had a little get together over here, and I put it on, and it sounded great, kind of as background, and I'm looking forward to diving into it more. But I wouldn't have bought New Sensations for $29, and I certainly wouldn't have bought Draw the Line for $29. Just not going to do it. But the art of discovery, the fun part of vinyl, was very much alive at that convention I went to. Now behind me, okay, we started talking about it. I have had all the Prince records, pretty much, except for this one. All the stuff I'm interested in, the stuff pre-Batman. But love Prince. I lived in Minneapolis for 18 years. I got to see him a couple times. I got to see him at Paisley Park once. Saw him just hanging out behind the mixing board at a show once at First Avenue. Got to see him at a block party. Got to see him at Target Center, which that was not a good experience. That was like a big, I think it was Emancipation around that time, big show. But some do some pretty small shows, especially the one at Paisley Park. But I've always been a pretty big Prince fan. I'm not huge. It's like saying you're a huge Dylan fan. You don't go there, or a huge Dead fan, because it's on a scale. But I know my Prince, and I love Prince, certain periods especially. And I had all of them on cassette. I had this one, but I never really got into it. Controversy, and I think that's probably the case for a lot of people. It sort of gets lost between Dirty Mind and 1999, and but I wanted it. And part of the reason that I wanted it was to rediscover it because it would feel fresh. I thought I don't know it like I know Dirty Mind. I don't know it like I know Parade or Sign of the Times or any of those records. So I picked it up, $22, and I must say I'm so impressed by it. First of all, it sounds absolutely amazing. This is one of those newer presses. This is like last 4 or 5 years put out by his estate. It sounds so good, so dynamic, so much going on, so many layers to it. And boy, does he bring the funk! And like he's young and he's just getting into that really interesting like pre-Purple Rain phase, post Dirty Mind. You can see it, even his appearance is changing. It's starting to look more like that Prince that was everywhere around the time of Purple Rain. But such a good album. Surprised me with some of the lyrics. I'd forgotten about Anti-Christian, Antichrist. Um, and then songs like Ronnie Talk to Russia, Nuclear War, Private Joy, Sexuality. It's definitely, a little raunchy. It's definitely a dirty Prince album. It's probably one that had Tipper Gore all up in a bind and, starting the PMRC over, or I think that was Darling Nikki, but I'm sure Controversy probably helped her get well on her way. But a really good Prince album. Right for rediscovery if you're a Prince fan and maybe overlooked this one or haven't heard it in a while. I've been spinning it a lot since I got it. I've probably got it like a week and a half ago, and I've played it 6 or 7 times, which is quite a lot for me on something that I thought I knew, or I thought I'd play a couple times and then get out once in a while. But really digging it. Sounds great loud. Really great record. But anyway, ending this somewhat controversial video with a really positive note about the Prince album Controversy. And check it out. And thanks again. Leave your comments too. Leave your comments about what you think about record store pricing, especially used records. Again, I understand they have to make a living. No quibbles about that. It's just, it's got to be fun. The discovery's got to be there for me anyway. I think probably for you too. Thank you.